Good morning, Commander. Thank you for joining with the Daily Morning newspaper for this interview.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me for this occasion. It's a great honor. Thank you.
So another group of Sri Lankan peacekeepers are preparing to leave for Africa next month. What will be their mission?
Okay, to start with, so far we have completed 8 missions in Central African Republic. This will be the 9th rotation, so that we will conduct on the 4th of December 2023. And first of all, I should tell you that I'm very proud to announce that. They actually, just like in the previous cases, they also will take the same role. So they will basically, our larger umbrella will be the humanitarian assistance, for which we are already very familiar with. And I should say number one is transportation of men and material. And then we have the CASEVAC, that is casualty evacuation. Then we have medical evacuation. And also sometimes it is, I must mention that while we carry out transportation of men and women in certain areas which are not very secure, then we have to use armed helicopters, for which also we are much oriented and we are conversant, and our pilots have done training. So this is the kind of operation that we are going to carry out in Central African Republic.
So this is sometimes you have to perform duties in hostile environments. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, sometimes, but we got to understand it is not so hostile, but we have to make sure that 100% our airmen are safe. So we also sometimes, whenever we feel that we need to carry arms, we have the armed helicopters. The same helicopter can be armed, and while carrying out the reconnaissance, surveillance, and transportation missions, so we have the gunners also on board.
Looking into the history of peacekeeping, Commander, how has the Sri Lanka Air Force's peacekeeping efforts panned over the years, and how many missions have we carried out?
Okay, we started our first mission in Central African Republic. That was in 2014. As I told you, this will be the 9th rotation that we will undertake on the 4th of December 2023. And in parallel to that, we started another mission in 2016 that was in South Sudan. So equally in both occasions we have performed very well, and in one contingent we have 3 helicopters and approximately 110 to 120 officers and airmen in the contingent, and they operate for a period of 1 year. So they have been so successful, and I should say we have a lot of requests from UN for some other deployments as well.
Why is contributing to UN missions important for the Sri Lanka Air Force? What does Sri Lanka gain from it?
There are different aspects. First, I should say, even though we are not a rich country, our number one requirement is to gain the reputation, good name within the international community. I think after operating approximately 15 missions so far, we have gained a great reputation among the international community as a very professional and very skillful and very competent military force. So that is number one. That is why we get so many requests from UN for some other deployments. Sometimes we are not, we don't have the capacity to do so many deployments, but the ones that we do, we get the highest reputation. That is very important, because you know, after the end of humanitarian operation in Sri Lanka, there were certain allegations. So now we are very happy to announce that we have gained a lot of good reputation among the international community. That is number one. That's my understanding.
Yes.
And number two, we have been able to bring a huge amount of forex. I think that is also very important for our country, because if you look back and see, last year we were not doing very well as a country. So I think we put a lot of effort to bring a lot of forex into our country. So that is also another area. And I should say, in Sri Lanka, there is no war. But for a country to maintain an air force, you need to get the pilots, flight engineers, logisticians, anybody, they need to get experience. For them to get experience, especially for the aircrew, they need to fly. So this we see as a great opportunity for our aircrew, the pilots, engineers, communicators, navigators, anybody. for them to get experience. And in a different terrain, I mean, they are not very conversant with when they as they go there. So this brings a lot of professionalism and skill development and a lot of competence and confidence to our forces. That is also there. So those are the main three things I should say why we should send on UN missions.
You mentioned about the economic benefit to the country with Forex. Over now, with Air Force starting its contribution to peacekeeping in 2014, to date, what kind of revenue, what kind of Forex have you brought in?
So far, through all the missions, we have brought over 120 million US dollars to the country as direct income. That is, you got to understand there are two ways, I mean, different ways that you get income by way of their remunerations, the salaries of the men and officers who are deployed there, and for some other aspects like, for flying hour, they pay you. So likewise, for the contingent operation only, we have brought over 120 million for the to the treasury direct. And that is apart from the salaries and other incomes that you gain in association with the main mission.
So in terms of bringing in foreign revenue and deploying our aircrafts, our assets and personnel overseas, it is a cost-effective mission, is it?
Let me explain you. Initially, for the initial deployment, we had to go and do some infrastructure there. And also for the initial deployment, there were some additional costs. Now we have already recovered the capital investments. Now it is a profit-making venture.
Sri Lanka's contribution to peacekeeping has sometimes hit bottlenecks in the past decade or so. Is the UN's vetting process of Sri Lankan peacekeepers a challenge for the SLAF to contribute to such missions?
I don't think so. As far as my experience in UN mission deployment is concerned, we get clearance for almost all the names that we send to Human Rights Commission. So we have not faced any difficulty in getting the human rights clearance from the human rights to send them on missions. I can comment you on, especially with regard to the Air Force mission.
The regions that we deploy our men and assets to, in Africa, the situation on the ground is very dynamic. We see certain threats escalating, some de-escalating, the political dynamics on the ground changing. So with Sri Lanka sending peacekeepers to these areas, are we sending our men in harm's way? And if so, how are we preparing them to carry out those duties?
One thing that I need to clarify to you is all the officers and airmen who are deployed in UN missions, they go voluntarily. And they are selected through a competitive process. There is a competition to go on UN missions.
Right.
So then you understand the feeling of the people who are going. And also I should say, we have a pre-deployment plan, pre-deployment training at Kukuleganga and various other places jointly with the Army and also especially by the Air Force. We do operational flying, night vision training and also orientation programs within the country. And after going through all this process only, they send people. We send our men and officers there on UN missions. And I also should say, when we have one mission already there, they give their experience to the next level. Because for an example, when we send our troops on 4th, it is not the whole deployment already at Central African Republic coming back. No. Set of officers and airmen would stay and they will transfer their knowledge to the officers and airmen who are going now. So they are conversant with the new situation and the new threat scenario and also the different types of operation. Then only they will leave maybe after 1 month. So that kind of knowledge transfer and learning from the past is there. So we are very much confident about undertaking such missions. Our officers and airmen, they are confident.
So you spoke about knowledge transfer to the new rotation that comes into theatre. How important is it that the knowledge, that the experience gained from such operations, when it's brought back, does it help the Air Force evolve in its mission in Sri Lanka with the experience they have gained in UN missions? You work with multiple foreign partners, different equipment, different languages. Does that kind of experience help capacity build and build a better air force in Sri Lanka?
Of course. As I told you earlier, one thing is their experience, their professionalism, their skill level goes up. Uh, because when they go and work in such missions, they have to deal with the other contingents as well. They sometimes go and get their support for our servicing, and we always get their assistance. They also get our assistance. So we normally work in collaboration with other countries. So then that itself is a huge gain for the Sri Lanka Air Force. And when they come back also, I should say they come with a lot of confidence. Because when you fly from Colombo to Trincomalee or Colombo to Jaffna, you already know the terrain from the birth. You know what is there and what you need to know, you already know. But in such cases, you have to study everything and you get used to operate in an area, in a terrain where you are not much aware. So that's a good experience that they gain. And another important aspect is when you go on a deployment on a UN mission, that gives you a lot of credibility. After retirement, our airmen, they stay in the Air Force for 22 years maximum. So when they leave the Air Force, they have international opportunities when they have the experience in UN missions. That is also a reason why we should send on UN mission our officers and airmen.
Is Sri Lanka able to sustain its current peacekeeping commitments? How well is the Air Force geared to sustain the missions?
Of course, we had challenges, and we have challenges because of the economic capacity that we have, limited capacity that we have to invest on UN missions. But however, now we are geared. We have an institution within Sri Lanka, within the Air Force. We have a UN directorate, foreign missions, under foreign missions directorate, the UN deployments are administered. And there we are very much geared with handling the flying requirements and also logistics requirements. And we have set very well set supply chain management system run by that directorate. So we are very much geared. We have the engineering support and engineering supplies, and we have the agents all over the world. I mean, close to Central African Republic, maybe from Dubai, maybe from some other place. So we are very well settled now. We have the capacity, and we are now very much geared to undertake such missions in particular area.
What has the feedback been from the UN and the other contributing countries for the SLAF deployments? What kind of feedback have you got? What kind of reception have you received in theatre?
We have repeatedly been receiving good remarks from the UN and from the other countries as well. We have verbally and also in writing, we have received so many good remarks from all over the world. So that is why we continue to get requests from UN for other deployments as well. So therefore, we plan to deploy the military SLAF police contingent and air traffic control contingent and explosive ordnance disposal contingent. So we are planning on those areas. And also, recently, I also should say that economically, we should not be a burden to the country. So this is a great endeavor that has been started by the successive commanders and supported to continue this mission. As I told you, we have already gained over 120 million US dollars as directly to the treasury. And also, I think by doing this, we will support His Excellency the President's vision to get the economic growth by 1.8 by 2024. I think this will also support that effort by the government.